Wake up, wake up. It is April 18th, 2025. We are inside of 1 week away until the NFL draft. Damon's on his way to Japan. Let's send him off the right way. Let's talk a little Niners. What's the latest with Purdy? What's the latest with the draft? What's the latest with trade rumors? What is the latest?
Larry, let me greet the entire show with a respectful bow. My wife has been to Japan before. I've never been. And I'm like, so the bow thing is real. She's like, oh, yes, very much. The bow thing is real. Practice the bow. Got to go at least like 30 degrees over for it to be a respectful bow. So I'm working at bending at the waist. My hip swivel. This is, of course, what we talk about when we evaluate cornerbacks. So I'm looking forward to it. Hello, everyone. It's great to have you here. And yeah, it's time for all of my final thoughts leading up to the draft. And Larry, I start with this, and it's a thought that you and I share. It's why our shows leading up to this draft have been so interesting, because the official answer still is, I don't know. I don't know what the 49ers are going to do. I have seen 6 different players. I've seen 4 different positions, all linked to the 49ers at 11, and just a handful of days away from next week's draft. It is still wide open as to what the 49ers might do and what every single one of the picks before them might be. There is no consensus to be found anywhere in this draft, even at the very top of it with Cam Ward, who does feel assured. But beyond that, man, it's ollie oxen free. I got no idea what's coming, and this is going to be a fun one.
Well, it's interesting because the odds say that it's predictable in the top 7. The odds are all negative odds going into pick 1 through 7. So that's kind of, I think there's a lot of people that feel like they got a pretty good handle on this thing 1 through 7. So let's just walk it through real quick. 1 through 7. I think most people think Cam Ward is going 1 to Tennessee. That Tennessee, they thought about all the other options, but they're going Cam Ward. So that's number 1. I think the Browns are locked in on Travis Hunter over Abdul Carter at 2. Just because he's a cleaner prospect. There's no problems off the field. He's a great student. He's a great player. So that's 2. The big question is 3. Because the Giants regime is going to be fired at the end of the year. I think everybody understands that if they don't win some games. So they went out and brought in Russell Wilson and they brought in Jameis Winston. And if they draft Shedeur Sanders, I mean, I kind of think they're drafting for somebody else because I don't think they're going to be there as he develops. So I do think the Giants are either going to take Abdul Carter at 3, or they're going to trade the pick to somebody who's going to take Abdul Carter at 3. But I think Abdul Carter goes 3. Then you get New England at 4, and I think New England's going to go with the big left tackle, Will Campbell. I think that's they want to help Drake May, and if they could, they're interested in trading, but it's, it would have to be the right deal. So I think Will Campbell, if there was a receiver there that they really loved, maybe they would go that direction, but there isn't, and they're going to go Will Campbell. There's a chance they could go edge rusher here and like Jalen Walker, who's a really, really hot prospect, but I don't think they will. I think they'll go Will Campbell. So that brings us to Jacksonville at 5. Now, the question here, Dane Brugler thinks that Jacksonville made in the first-year GM, James Gladstone, who comes over from the Rams, that he may go Ashton Genty right here at 5, or trade it to somebody with Genty, thought to be off the board at the next pick.
I'll tell you where
Dallas could trade up. There could be a number of teams that want to trade into that 5 spot.
Yeah, this is where the draft officially begins. Even though we still don't really have clarity at 1 through 4, although I think a lot of your intuition is right there, Larry. This is where the draft begins with Jacksonville at 5, because number 1, they're open for business at a lot of different drafting options. Number 2, they could be open for business for trading and trading back. New GM, great way to start the regime. Take the expectations of your first pick being a franchise saving pick off of you by trading back a little. It makes a lot of sense for a lot of reasons. Plus, Genty. What's the value on Genty? Because if the Chicago Bears really want him as much as some of the rumors out of Chicago are suggesting that they do, they're going to have to get in front of the Raiders, because the Raiders are the team I think most linked to Genty, and they pick next. So if you want to get in front of the Raiders, you're going to have to do a deal with the Jaguars, and then what the Raiders have left over or what their choice is or isn't, I think determines really what's going to happen. Is somebody going to try to get in front of, have we seen Will Campbell or Armand Membu slide down here? Is somebody going to get giddy for one of them and jump in front of the 49ers?
I don't think the 49 I don't
at 9 is.
I don't think anybody wants to jump in front of the 49ers necessarily. But I do think people want to jump in front of the Raiders.
Yeah.
And I think you're probably right on it. I think the Bears, I think it goes 5-6, 6-5. Either way, it goes Graham and Genty off the board. I think it could be the Bears at 5 taking Genty and the Raiders at 6 taking Graham, or it could be Jacksonville at 5 taking Graham and the Raiders at 6 taking Genty. But that's how I think it's going to go. I do think Genty goes 5 or 6, and I do think Graham winds up being the other pick. So then we're at 7, and I think, the Jets are going to choose between Tyler Warren and Membu. And my guess is that they're going to go Membu. Okay, that would be my guess. Then you've got Carolina at 8. They're looking to trade back. This could be a Shedeur Sanders pick. So, like if you are one of these teams that like Shedeur, I think you probably want to get to Carolina at 8.
Right, because Carolina's not going quarterback.
And the Saints probably could next. So I would say you may see a team. Pittsburgh, supposedly there's a lot of talk that Mike Tomlin loves Shedeur. If Pittsburgh was really convicted, could they trade all the way up from 21? Carolina's in the midst of a big rebuild. So if Pittsburgh was willing to give Carolina their number 1 next year, I think Dan Morgan would probably take it and move down to 21. So I think it could be Pittsburgh here at 8. And I think Pittsburgh probably takes Shedeur at 8. And then it's like, okay, well, what are the Saints going to do? Because I think the Saints probably were going to take, Genty, or Shedeur 8, but instead, or 9, but instead he's gone at 8. So I would say the Saints are like a wild card team. I think they're probably going to take Shamar Stewart from A&M. I think he's too big, too fast, too talented. I realize the production's not quite there sack-wise, but the most of the scouts.
I'll tell you, I think that would be billed as the first. I think that would be billed as the first big reach of the draft. Whether the knowledge of whether or not that is the first big reach of the draft will never be actually known, because what someone says is a reach is what the other team's been planning to do all along. But man, I would say exercise any caution on him. You're right. Physical specimen, man. But
he was, according to the scouts I talked to, the best player on the field in Mobile. And it makes sense because he only practiced for 2 days and then he shut it down. So he obviously, somebody told him, hey, Shamar,
you're good.
You've done enough here. You've done enough. So, I mean, it's funny because I know it's so easy to look at these guys and be like, oh, the lack of sack production, he sucks. And there's more nuance to it than that. It's not that simple.
There is.
It's about it's about how did opposing offenses try to attempt to block your line? Did they try to get the ball out? Where were you placed? I mean, I watch Texas A&M every week. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm sad to say that I do, but they used him not always as an edge rusher. Sometimes he was inside. Sometimes he's over the tackle. Sometimes he's outside. Sometimes they moved him around. And it wasn't like he sucked, by the way. I mean, the people who don't watch football, who only read a couple lines here and there and just regurge everything out there to the public. Oh, I'm just going to regurgitate this. Oh, this guy sucks. He has no production. No. He has no sack production for the most part. But you're talking about a guy who led A&M in total pressures. And if you watch the prospect, he plays incredibly hard. He would not be the first player.
You get
he
to
wouldn't be
flip
the
the
first
coin.
player. Well, he wouldn't be the first player who didn't sack the quarterback a lot in college, but did in the NFL. So this guy, I mean, let's just say this. Dane Brugler, who does this for a living and has the biggest draft guide, says this guy's best football is in front of him, and his combination of athletic testing and movement ability and motor and run defense. I mean, he's the best run defender at defensive end in the draft by far. So if you want to stop the run, that's, this and set the edge. People are like, oh, I need, Niner fans are crazy. I want a guy who can set the edge. And then they go, Mike Green. I want Mike Green.
Right. Well, what do you think set the edge means?
Yeah, you don't set the edge when you're 248 pounds. You just don't.
Let me ask you. You get to flip a coin, Larry. You get either no other choice but flip this coin. Heads, it's Shamar Stewart. Tails, it's Mike Green. You can only have one of the two at 11. Who would you rather have?
Shamar Stewart. And I'm not even, I mean, for the 49ers, Shamar Stewart, because there is no position that Mike Green plays that the 49ers, can put him at. He's not big enough at 6'2", 250 to stand up on first and second down.
All right, let me play a little either or. Let me play a little either or.
I'm not going to draft a guy at 11 who's a pass rushing specialist who only comes on the field on third down. What happens if the 49ers can't stop the run next year the way they couldn't stop the run this year? Then you drafted Mike Green to rush the passer, and you never get to pass rushing situations because you're getting destroyed on first and second down.
Either or.
So
would you rather have Shamar Stewart or corner Will Johnson from Michigan? Because he is the name that continues to pop up and me think, like, do the Niners need a corner? Yes. Should the Niners draft a corner? Number one, first corner off the board in the draft? I really don't think so. But would you rather have Shamar Stewart or the first corner in the draft?
Well, I don't even think Will Johnson is the first corner in the draft. I like Jedi Barron. He was the Thorpe Award winner. He's the guy who played. I mean, Will Johnson jumped in front of a couple passes, and he's made some highlight plays, but he's barely played. I mean, he's been injured, and for that reason, I would put Jedi Barron over Will Johnson. But yes, I would take Shamar Stewart over Jedi Barron, even though I like Jedi Barron quite a bit. Tony Pauline, who's pretty dialed in on this stuff, says he thinks, according to the people that he's talked to, that the 49ers are choosing at 11 between Shamar Stewart and Walter Nolan. And, I understand there's negatives to both guys. Nolan's been around the block. He's been on a number of different programs. Some people, he's walked off the practice field in anger a couple times. Some people feel like his motor is not great, but he does have an amazing first step. He's very versatile. He can play anywhere on the defensive line, and he can play the run and the pass. So
you can trade back for Nolan, though. I mean, that's the thing. If they end up with Nolan as their first round pick, I hope it also comes with the news that they traded back and they picked up a late second or early third rounder too somewhere. In an ideal world, but I'll say this, these guys know the board as far as like who's more likely to be there. If they like Walter Nolan, I got no problem taking him right then and there. I mean, he's a 5-star guy out of high school. He's a 300-pounder who can move. He did it in multiple schemes. He's done it from multiple spots. Yes, in an ideal world, I would trade from 11 to 15, 16, 17, get an extra third round, fifth round, and seventh round for doing it. And, add those 3 extra picks and pick at 15 to 17 and take Walter Nolan. But if I can't trade down and I have to pick, and it's Shamar Stewart or Walter Nolan, I think I'm going Walter Nolan. I think Shamar's got the higher ceiling, but I think Nolan's got a significantly higher floor, and the Niners cannot. I mean, here's the thing, bottom line. The Niners have screwed up the number 1 pick. A lot. So they cannot do that. They will not be able to turn this thing around if they screw up their day 1 or day 2 picks. They have to hit. So
Shamar Stewart is a big, huge swing for the fences. You're like taking a pick going 3 years from now. I
Right.
want to be the smartest guy in the entire draft.
That's one of
who
those
drafted Miles Garrett.
you better damn well be right. You
Right.
better be right.
Right. So I would say the 49ers should not take that level of a swing because they haven't been that hot. They're not making contact. So I'm not saying they should go super safe with the Penn State tight end if he's there, which would be very, very safe because I think everybody understands he's a really solid player. But the biggest swing in the entire draft is Shamar Stewart because he could be Miles Garrett or he could be like a really, really good run defender who's active but doesn't really sack the quarterback ever.
I guess that's the question. Can they afford to be standing there in their at bat, swinging with both cheeks, zero choke up on the bat, Shamar Stewart over the center field fence? Oh man,
that's tough because here's the problem. When they look at the board and they're sitting there, I'm sure the value because of supply and demand is at defensive end over defensive tackle, because as people have said countless times, it's a very deep defensive tackle draft. And you might be able to get a guy in the third round. Heck, you might be able to get your guy from Indiana in the third round. And it's like, if you can get that guy in the third round and get a really great defensive end in the first round, now you're cooking, as opposed to if you go with Nolan in the first round, who can you get to be your defensive end in the third round? And that's going to be really challenging. So, I mean, it's not impossible, but it's going to be challenging.
Invader 49ers says Stewart has a wart, Williams has a wart, Nolan has a wart. Pick your wart. I hear you. True. I do. But I want to be sifting through warts on day 3, not at 11. You know what I mean?
Well, totally. Yeah, no, I mean that's why usually the first round guys go in the first round. There's less warts. I mean, it's interesting too, because I did a stream last night with Jake Hutchinson, and Jake, who I do respect, but he is loving the player that I can't stand, and that's Mikael Williams. I watch Florida every week, and then there's a lot of draft people who like watch the draft, and I don't know if they watch the games. I didn't see Mikael Williams do much. I really didn't. And then when I read the Brugler scouting report on him, it was pretty clear that he didn't play that much. Like, I mean, that's the part about this that's so weird. It's like every player was asked to do a different thing in college, and not everybody did the same things. I mean, everybody played a different amount of time and made a different contribution. A lot of people love Mikael Williams.
What Georgia players have going for them is first of all, what Georgia players have going for them is they played at Georgia, which is, one of the best programs in the country right now. You're really well coached by Kirby Smart. There's an awful lot of guys with that G on the helmet having a success in this league right now. So all that matters. You also, I think, get a little bit more of a benefit of the doubt as a Georgia player, because if your numbers aren't quite there, one of the arguments is that your stats got washed out in the talent around you. Right?
Yeah, I mean,
like your production was down because you got 10 other All-Americans playing defense with you. So of course your numbers are going to go down because 6 guys you're playing with are also going to be drafted before day 3. And I think that that's a little bit of a safe space where some of these players survive better evaluations than maybe they get.
I just didn't see it regularly. I mean, this guy, Mikael Williams was a 5-star, right? He was the highest recruit. He was going to USC. And then they fired Clay Helton, and he backed out and he said, he's from Columbus, Georgia. He said, I want to stay close to home. He played at Georgia. There's examples.
When Helton, all bets are off.
There's examples on the tape of him, of Mikael Williams maximizing, his talent, his length, and his power. He looks the part for sure. But here's the quote from Brugler. He needs to do it more consistently for quicker wins and block sheds. Overall, Williams is more toolsy than nuanced, and needs to develop a more unified pass rush plan. The individual traits, length, strength, explosiveness, are promising. Toughness and football character. However, there are reasons, to bet on his upside, similar in ways to Jason Pierre-Paul. But then when you go and you look at the negatives on him, doesn't have a consistent rush plan or an arsenal of secondary moves. So he doesn't have a lot of moves. Too much wasted movement with his hands, reverts back to strength, which is also what I see. This is a guy who tries to just bowl everybody. Gets too upright at the snap, which allows blockers to get underneath and halt him and get into his chest. Low end tackle production. Stats don't match traits. Played in a very deep rotation. Averaged just 33 plays a game, defensive snaps per game. 27 2 years ago, 29 1 year ago, 33 this year. I mean, that's like basically playing half the game. I mean, there's like 70 snaps in an NFL, in a college football game, and he's averaging 33. So he missed 2 games and parts of several others with an ankle sprain, missed spring practice after aggravating a previous foot injury. I mean, my whole thing is I watch Georgia. I watch Georgia every week. I never see.
I watch Georgia too. Is it fair to not hold lack of production in spite of physical talent? You're not holding that against Shamar Stewart. And I'm not saying you, Larry, but whoever does this evaluation, it feels like if Shamar Stewart can get away with it.
Here's the thing, Damon. This is the thing. Shamar Stewart. So this guy, Mikael Williams, didn't produce very much. I could take out his game log. He had only 1 game all year where he had more than 3 tackles. He only had 5 sacks on the year. Okay. Now the other guy only had 1.5. But the whole thing with Shamar Stewart is you're betting on his traits. With this guy, he looks the part, but when you go look at his numbers, they're like the numbers aren't there. The workout numbers aren't there. Like, let me give you an example. He's measured at 6'5", 260 with 10.25-inch hands and 35-inch arms. Those are all amazing numbers. All right. Then when you get to the 40, the guy ran almost a 4.8. That's slow as hell. That's 4.77 is what he ran. Now Jake's like, yeah, but he had a 1.6, 110-yard split, and that's all that matters. I'm like, all right, but there's no production there for the most part, and he's not a runner. I mean, some of these edge rushers run in the 4.5s.
Right. They're running like running backs.
The Niners took Robert Beal from Georgia because Kirby told Lynch that he could set the edge as well as anybody. He's 6'4", 260, and instead of, just like this guy is, and instead of running 4.77, Robert Beal ran 4.48, and he hasn't done anything. So sorry, I'm not going to take a guy with the 11th pick overall who played on a championship defense and had a firsthand seat to watch Jalen Walker make all these tackles. The Georgia team that I watched was dominated on defense by Malachi Starks and Jalen Walker. And there's no way I'm taking Mikael Williams with the 11th pick.
Just looking at the way
you want to trade back, that's fine. But
just looking at the way
he didn't have production, but he had great traits. Okay, at least there's like, hey, there's traits. But this guy doesn't have great production, and he doesn't have great traits. He looks the part, but he doesn't move that way.
All right, let's get unstuck on this one topic because I know you got to get going. You got something that you got to do, and we have a shorter show planned for the day here. The Niners are picking at 11 with, I think, 4 teams that come with massive variables in front of them. The Bears, the Saints, and it's funny, these are all the picks like right in front of them too. The Bears, the Saints, the Panthers, the Raiders, and the Jaguars. That's 5 teams in front of them that could be open very much for draft day trading business. And the New England Patriots or the New York Giants could join that conversation too. It's funny, Larry. You and I both really like Warren Sharp, right? He's really good analyst, and he was reacting to a tweet that Schefter said. The Giants got private workouts coming up here, and they're going to look at Shedeur Sanders. They're going to look at Jalen Milroe this weekend. They're going to talk to the quarterback coming out of Louisville, and Warren Sharp just said, "Look, this is why end of the year choices freaking matter, because the New York Giants, who have now signed, freaking Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson and are still playing the do we need to draft a quarterback game? They were 2-13 with 2 weeks left. They had the number 1 pick absolutely locked up. They had 2 opponents on their schedule who need wins to make the playoffs, and Tommy Cutlets and wins 2 totally throw those away, don't win them games. And that puts the New York Giants in the situation that they're in right now, because they didn't just admit the situation they were in last year, where losing these games would be better for our future than winning these games will be. So, it's easy to have the 2020 hindsight, but we were all saying it in real time. What are you doing winning these games, New York Giants? And look at the world that they built for themselves, the world of shit where they're thinking maybe Shedeur, maybe someone not Shedeur, but not Cam Ward, or whatever Russell Wilson or Jameis Winston has. Like, just lose your games.
But you know the way that goes.
I know.
You know the way that goes when it's late in the year. Everybody comes out of the woodwork, with this. Well, nobody on, say, I hate people who just state the obvious over and over and over again, like it's somehow a shrewd point. None of these NFL players care about the draft, and they aren't tanking for draft position. And if you think they are, you're wrong. It's like, nobody said that. Nobody said that. Nobody said that that's what players are doing. We're saying that's what they should do, because as Damon just pointed out, the Giants could have had Cam Ward and their future at quarterback set up. And now they're going to, good luck, Shedeur. You're probably going to get fired and this and that. And you don't have the quarterback and this and that. So in a 1 quarterback draft, when you need a quarterback and you had the number 1 pick locked up, you probably didn't need those late season wins. But then there's the argument of, these guys care about winning and they don't care about the draft. Fine. Then you continue to lose, because it was a 1 quarterback draft. And you're not going to get that 1 quarterback.
And that's not what anyone was saying while you were dumping weeks 4 through 13, and it was just all crap. No one was saying, well, these games are the ones that we need to win just because you got to teach your team how to win in culture and blah, blah, blah. No. Culture is a better draft pick after a shitty year. That's culture.
No. Yeah, I mean, there's an old saying: the moral advantages of losing have been greatly exaggerated. Okay, but in this, I get it. It's like losing is for losers. But in this situation, it's not just a moral advantage; it's an actual, real, tangible advantage. There's one franchise quarterback. His name's Cam Ward, and you're not going to get a chance at him, and yet you need a quarterback, and you're probably fired if you can't get either a quarterback or into the playoffs. And you know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, I mean, way to go for your week 17 win, but I'd rather be the team that quietly loses out and gets that high pick. Nobody's ever going to remember so much about what the sports that we root for is so much about luck and picks. I mean, the Spurs with their incredible run. What if they'd gotten Van Horn instead of Duncan?
No, absolutely.
It's just really. What if the Warriors, instead of taking James Marshmallow Wiseman, what if they had somehow taken LaMelo or gotten up to the first pick and gotten Anthony
Edwards?
Yeah, they would be quite a bit different. Maybe quite a bit better.
It feels like Aaron Rodgers is feeling a lack of attention this week because he stepped back into the interview and ESPN car wash platform to let everyone know that he was not happy with his New York Jets exit. We all knew that was going to be, we knew he wasn't going to be happy. And I guarantee you, Aaron Rodgers is the exact same guy who's complaining about being flown out there to be let go. He's the exact same guy who would have complained about the phone call that saved him the time of flying out there. You got to do this to my face. So it feels like Aaron Rodgers is just going to complain no matter what.
What's he doing right now? I mean, what is
He's a
there's
man without an
talk that
island.
there's conjecture that he wants to be a 49er. I don't believe that.
Look, stop.
But why is he not picked a team?
Minnesota, Pittsburgh, New Orleans.
I want an answer. I mean, if I'm a team, I need an answer. I need an answer by Monday.
Minnesota, Pittsburgh, New Orleans. Aren't really those the only 3 real options for him in this league right now? And one of them has already drafted their quarterback of the future, Minnesota. Another one of them is about to take a quarterback, you would assume, in this draft. So really, Aaron Rodgers has one place to go, whatever the one place that is it's so weird. And if you're thinking about it, if you're New Orleans and you're really playing this ain't checkers, this is chess, we're 2 moves down the board. If you're New Orleans, don't you kind of want to go 0-17 this year and draft Arch Manning? A Manning quarterbacking in New Orleans?
I mean, he hasn't even played, really. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I know he's highly touted, but I mean, I don't even know if Arch is good. I'll tell you the guy that I think is amazing in college is the A&M quarterback, Marcel. What the hell is Marcel's last name? Really amazing athlete. I mean, he's a 6'3" athletic quarterback who's got very, great kid.
Florida transfer? Am I thinking about somebody else?
No. Let me see. Who is his name? What guy? I always forget. I always forget his last name. Texas A&M. Gosh, depth chart. Let me see.
Here, look at it this way. That's
Marcel.
The 2026 draft. You don't need to know that for this draft, Larry. That's the 2026 draft. Hey,
he's a great player. He's a great quarterback prospect. Marcel Reed. That's it. Marcel Reed. Marcel Reed, the quarterback for Texas A&M, is the next great quarterback coming down the pike, and he is really, really special.
What if I told you?
Super smart, super athletic, and 6'2", 185, redshirt sophomore.
Can I run a trade past you, Larry?
Yeah, let's see it. What do you got?
Would you flip a 4th rounder to the Jacksonville Jaguars for them picking up almost half the tab on a 30-year-old Jalen Ramsey? I would.
Wait, say that again. Would I? Who's making this trade? I mean,
okay, so Jalen. I said Jacksonville. Sorry, I've got Jalen Ramsey old memories. He'd be coming from Miami at this particular time, but
to the Niners.
Jalen Ramsey's on the market apparently. This 30-year-old will be less expensive than ever before because Miami's got to eat some of this deal. They've already paid, I guess, a signing bonus to him. A big corner who would instantly replace Mooney Ward. You keep Demo inside the slot. A 4th rounder flipping him for Jalen Ramsey. I'm making that phone call if I'm the 49ers. Absolutely, I would. And I'd even put some conditions on it. I'd say, if he plays really well, starts every game, we'll bump that to a.
I wouldn't. You know why? Because you need your picks, and B, he's not faster, younger, or cheaper. And C, if you really need a corner, and they do, I think they really do, because they have Trey Brown starting right now, go sign Asante Samuel Jr., who's a free agent, and don't trade any draft picks. You hoard your picks. There's only 2 free agents, I think, that make sense for the 49ers that are still on the market outside of kickers, right? There might be a kicker. But it's Keenan Allen if the Niners don't get a receiver, and it's Asante Samuel Jr. And if the Niners could sign Keenan Allen and Asante Samuel Jr., I think that would be really smart, Damon. Why? Because I really believe that 3rd corner is really vitally important. So, and yet the Niners, I agree with everybody else. The Niners have to go O-line, D-line, linebacker. They got to build those things up. And in addition to that, because they don't have Debo or Ayuk for this year, most likely, or at least for a good chunk of the year with Ayuk, you need some dynamic weapons. I mean, Kittle's older and all your guys are old. So you need dynamic weapons, rebuild your linebacking core, rebuild your offensive line, rebuild your defensive line. So with all those things as primary needs in front of these other ones, I think, and you got to have a corner and you got to have a receiver. And it's like, you know what? Maybe Keenan could give them 1 year at wide receiver and give them a reasonable facsimile of Ayuk for a year and finish. He played at Cal, finish your incredible career here in the Bay. And Asante Samuel would alleviate corner. If they don't get Samuel, they really do need to draft a corner on the first 2 days. You can't wait till day 3. Now, Tony Pauline, the other interesting report that he had, it wasn't just that the Niners are choosing between Shamar Stewart and Walter Nolan, according to his sources. He also said the 49ers are really interested in cornerback Dorian Strong, who's a kind of a big-bodied press man corner from Vatech. He says on day 2. So Tony has basically suggested the Niners like Olufemi Oladejo and Dorian Strong on day 2 and are choosing between Shamar Stewart and Walter Nolan in round 1. So that's and he's pretty connected. So I would take his like rumors to the bank. But there's a ton of other rumors as well. Matt Barrows, who I also think very tight end, Damon, very tight end. Really has a lot of sources. You know,
Matt Barrows he doesn't throw shit against the wall. If he's throwing something against the wall, there's a reason.
Right. He's really, really circumspect in his reporting. He doesn't just oh, I got it, I'm going with it. You know, he's not that desperate, right? He said yesterday that the Niners will not, most likely, in his opinion, will not be taking Mike Green or James Pierce at 11 because of off-field character concerns. So I think those two undersized edge rushers, who I think are both exciting players, but may or may not fit. What's that?
Pierce especially.
Yeah, I mean Pierce especially. Pierce is, I mean, but Green's amazing too because he's got great production. So they're really talented, and I like them. But according to Matty, they're not going in that direction. He also made the point that he doesn't think they're going in the offensive line direction in round 1, unless like maybe something unforeseen happens, like a Membu drops to them.
He's sitting there.
But he doesn't think they're going like Banks or offensive line at 11. So he does think they're going offensive line at some point, but he doesn't think they're going offensive line at 11. He doesn't think they're going Pierce or Green at 11. So we're starting to get, there's some people that believe the 49ers, Field Yates and others think the 49ers are a viable team to trade up. But most people, Damon, like you and I and others who look at this, are envisioning either picking at 11 or trading back.
The player they trade up for better go to the Pro Bowl in his rookie year.
Yeah, and I looked this up, by the way, because I wanted to find out who have the Niners traded up for in the past, because, that's always kind of an indication of should they trade up. And my recollection on it, Damon, was that the Niners have only traded up for bad players in the past. But when I actually looked it up, they've traded up for the ones who missed: Reuben Foster, C.J. Beathard, Joe Williams, Tarvarius Moore, Dante Pettis, Trey Lance, Trey Sermon, Nick Sakel. They traded up for all those guys, okay? They traded up, and those were the misses. They traded up for Mitch Wishnowsky as well, Dre Greenlaw, Brandon Ayuk, Jair Brown, Renardo Green, Dom Pooney, and Isaac Correndo. So, I mean, they got off to an awful start trading up in the early regime. Beathard, Joe Williams, Dante Pettis. I mean, these guys are all horrible players. And they traded up for these guys. And I think Shanahan probably had a big say in liking those offensive players. So keep Shanahan away from the draft, because he's a great play caller. He's a great coach, and he's just a marginal evaluator, right? So that would be one plan. And then, then recently they did trade up for Garendo, Pooney, Renardo, and Jair. And, I would say those are pretty successful trade ups. So maybe initially when they first got going, they had players they liked and they didn't see it well. But it seems like recently they've had success trading up. But I agree with you. If they trade up, it better be a no-doubter.
Freaking monster. A monster. His side of the ball rookie of the year level candidate. That's
just somebody who's great. You trade up. You got Tyler Warren, and he becomes, the fourth best tight end in the NFL.
I'm sorry I can't cite my source here, but I saw out of Philadelphia today the rumor that the Eagles might have defensive end Bryce Huff on the market here. He signed a 3-year, $51 million deal with the club last offseason. maybe the 49ers might be interested in Bryce Huff. He's a 26-year-old who is hardly involved in the Eagles' title run. Disappointment, injuries. He was only dressed for one of their postseason games. Bryce Huff has his best year under his belt playing under Robert Saleh. The Eagles might want to get out from underneath that money, like a fourth round pick with an additional 2026 conditional based on production level attached. Would you be interested in Bryce Huff, an experienced edge coming in to help the 49ers, more than looking for one on an early day 3 pick?
Or how about both? How about both? I could do both. I love the idea of Bryce Huff, and I have floated it a number of spots, a number of different streams. I've talked about it, and it just makes a lot of sense. Why? Because the Eagles are looking to move him, and his best ball was with the Jets under Saleh, and he's not old. I mean, I think he's like 25.
He's
26. Yeah,
he's 26.
He's not old. So yes, absolutely. And people, you asked me before, hey, could you see the Niners going with Will Johnson? Could you see the Niners going with Jedi Barron? Well, Damon, I'll say this. If you're Robert Saleh and your job is to have a good defense, and you know that on day 3, the Eagles are going to trade you Bryce Huff for a 6th, well, you got a pretty good idea that you got a, in his prime defensive end that you really like opposite Nick Bosa. And so now you start thinking about what is this thing going to look like? And they may, sit there and go, well, yeah, let's go with Bryce Huff. And because we're going with Bryce Huff, let's go corner here because we can get the defensive tackles later. And if we get Jedi Barron, the Thorpe Award winner, or Will Johnson, we get a lockdown corner. And the only reason I would think that maybe Saleh might be thinking along those lines is because he did have sauce. And maybe he experienced how good Gardner was in New York and wants that big, dominant number 1 corner. I will say this about the 2 corners. In a draft where there's glitches, right? Walter Nolan's been in a bunch of different spots. Some people question his fire. Some people question his devotion. Some people question the character. Shamar Stewart, people question his production, right? He can't sack the quarterback. And is he one of these guys that looks like a ton but just doesn't play that way? How tough is he? And how can he use his hands? And does he have any vision? There's risks on all these guys, right? Every single guy. But when it gets to those 2 corners, I understand, Damon, why the Niners may go in that direction because they're both extremely clean. Like Will Johnson, all the guy's done is be a 5-star guy and then step in and he's like got pick 6s and he's been incredible. Then he's had some injuries.
High production on the national championship team.
He was the MVP 2 years ago. He was the MVP. So he's really, really talented and long. And then there's Barron. And a buddy of mine the other day, I was saying, man, I really like Barron, but I really don't like Banks. And a guy in my chat's like, man, I'm the biggest Texas fan of all time. And I'll just tell you right now, you're spot on. Banks is just a guy, and Barron's like really special. I see the guy from Detroit, Brian Branch, in Jedi Barron. He's a little smaller, right? He's 5'11". So you look at that size, 5'11", 195, Damon, and you go, there ain't nothing special about that.
No, but that's requisite corner size. I mean, that's
totally. It's fine. Yeah. It's fine, but it's not like you're not saying, oh, he's jumbo. You're not draft. But then the film goes on, and Barron is a perfect player. He can play slot. He can play outside. He can play safety. He's a hitter. He's a leader. He comes away with big turnovers. He's a very, very safe pick. And for the 49ers, let's be totally frank about this. They have absolutely, whether you want to, I love John Lynch. I think he's a great guy. They have screwed up that number 1 pick more than they have gotten it right.
Oh, yeah.
And if you went with Jedi Barron and just said, we're going with the Thorpe Award winner who's very safe, you know what I mean?
Right.
I got no problem with that, Damon, because get a good draft for the Niners has to start with a solid line drive single to left. It can't start with, some hairy, they may have gotten the best player in the draft, or they may have gotten a guy that can't play dead. And it's like, oh God, no. You need to take a Brian Branch. And in my opinion, Jedi Barron is a Bryant.
Well, and then they need the complement to really make that pick click with the next pick. If you're going corner in the first round, you better come back interior defensive line. I mean, you have to, because you addressed needs in the secondary in the passing game right there, and you got to do something about your run game.
But think about it, Damon. Think about it. I mean, I kind of would, if you said to me, you can have Walter Nolan in round 1 or Kenneth Grant, and then come back with like a round 3 corner, Dorian Strong. Okay. Okay, I'm thinking about that. Or you could go, Jedi Barron and come back with your guy, CJ West. And in that scenario, Damon, I'm taking Jedi Barron and CJ West. There's no doubt in my mind.
If you can guarantee me CJ West is waiting for me, we can talk about the corner right here, right now.
You got 3 bites of the apple. You got 43, you got 75, and you got 100. And I think there's a chance CJ West could be on the board for all of those picks. 43, too rich. 75 or 100, too risky. But 75, man, if CJ West is there, I loved his motor, his hand strength, his run stop ability, his pass rush ability. I think he's a really nice.
How about this? Let's do it the other way. What if in this draft all of a sudden you get a guy like Mason Graham falling to the 49ers at 11, and then they come back with Kobe Bryant, the corner out of Kansas, with the first pick of day 3. I mean, I would like that too.
Yeah,
I would like that too.
It's funny. Kobe's been mocked in the 6th round recently, and which was really surprising to me. But I love Kobe Bryant, super cocky. I don't love Mason Graham, and I've tried to see what everybody else sees. I can see he's a really good. He keeps his shoulders squared. He doesn't get turned at the line of scrimmage. He keeps his shoulders squared. He's got that wrestling background. He plays with leverage. He's a really good first and second down player. I don't see a special player on third down. And to me, that's the money down. So I don't want to take a bad-bodied defensive tackle who's maxed out, who doesn't stand up against double teams just for first and second down. I need, if I'm drafting a guy in the top 10, man, I need that guy to be a war daddy on third down too. So I like Graham, and he's very safe. But I think, give you an example. Matt Barrows yesterday had a phenomenal piece. Let's see if I can quote this. And he was basically quoting pass rush win rate percentages. And Graham's is roughly 13%. And Omar Norman Lott and some other guy in the 3rd round were like 18%. So, they're better interior pass rushers than Mason Graham. And
plays the run well, though.
He plays the run the best.
You're giving up sexy pass rushing for a guy who's supposed to be a plug and play. Here's your Jerry Ball. He's going to shut down the run.
But if we're really all about run defense, Shamar Stewart was going to shut down the run incredibly well. And yet, I'm not, you got to see the whole thing here. You know what I mean? It's like Mason Graham is absolutely the most polished defender, and he's a 3 technique. And I think, Damon, you could start him week 1, day 1, and just throw him out there and be like, you're the guy. But here's my big concern is he played at 318 and he tested at 295. And that's just a huge disparity. And I wouldn't want to draft a player that needs to put on 15 pounds of muscle every year to maintain. Kittle does it, and he's done it well, but it's hard to do.
It sounds like someone coming out of college with that much of a weight loss is off cycle, if you don't mind me saying. I'm not pointing at anything, but
I hear you.
Be careful.
In the 80s or 90s, it would be a major red flag. Now, maybe not as much, but still, it does.
So I know you said, Larry, you have time. You're on a time crunch here, and we got 10 supers that we got to get to quickly. 30 seconds. Your distressed asset du jour. Which of these players would you be willing to trade a day 3 pick to acquire?
Okay.
Charger wide receiver Quentin Johnson, who again is only 23. He's 6'4", 215, but it feels like the Chargers want to give up on him. His numbers, which were unimpressive for the Chargers, would have him like the 3rd best wide receiver on the 49ers last year. Quentin
I'm not a
Johnson.
fan. I'm not a fan. He fights the ball. He fights the ball, Damon.
Ravens tight end Mark Andrews. I know it
No.
feels like a very old, very washed player, but you know what? I bet he's got one good season in him. Isaiah Likely's ready to take his spot. I think Baltimore could absolutely be in the trade away Mark Andrews business, and the 49ers could get one more year as TE2 out of Mark Andrews. Or how about a 30?
I would say no, too old and doesn't fit their timeline.
33-year-old honey badger.
I like that one the most.
Okay. I know he doesn't fit the age, but
he's a need.
You wanted a safety? You wanted a strong safety or free safety, excuse me? Boom. There you go. And he's still productive.
And also, it's the right position to have the veteran guy. You know what I mean? If you're going to have the veteran, free safety is a great spot. I thought, it's funny. That's not the name I thought you were going to say. T-Dub has the name I thought you were going to say. I thought you were going to say Kayvon Thibodeau. See, now Thibodeau, I think, does make sense as a trade candidate. If the Giants, Damon, go Abdul Carter at 3, like a lot of people think is their kind of like fallback, there's a very good chance that they trade Kayvon Thibodeau, who's only 25. And if I were the 49ers, I would say, here's a day 3 pick, and is there a player that we can throw you that would throw us Kayvon Thibodeau, and see if I could do kind of what they did with Laken Tomlinson, get a guy who was a first round pick, didn't necessarily play great, and then try to get it. Niners got Tomlinson for a 5th.
Right, new faces.
You could get Kayvon Thibodeau for a 5th and some player on your roster you don't care about. Man, I'll take Kayvon Thibodeau and put him opposite Nick Bosa. That, to me, I'd be very excited about that. The other guy that I really, really am intrigued by is Michael Mayer. I really think Michael Mayer is a very good player who got raided. I know Bowers was great. He's not Bowers. He's not as good as Bowers, but I really like Michael Mayer, and I think Michael Mayer could be a very good tight end in this NFL, for the next 3-4 years. I think he could be really good.
Let's crush some supers, Larry.
Surfbone says they'll pick Mikael Williams at 11 to spite Larry.
Oh, I can't wait to see that video dropping.
I don't hate him. I just don't think he's. I think he's safe but low end. Like, I think Mikael Williams is a lock to play 10 years in the NFL, but I think he's also a lock to never make a Pro Bowl. Danny Golding TV says, "Have a lit time in Tokyo, Damon."
Thank you very much. Can't wait. I'm so excited.
Now, what's the protocol there? Do you have to get out a bunch of cash when you go there, or can you, is it banking? Is he?
I've just had friends tell me that they used Apple Pay for absolutely everything that they bought when they were in Tokyo, and it does the conversion for you, and you don't need to pick up all this. But pop in somewhere and get some yen just for walking around money. By the way, it's the yen to dollar conversion rate. It's $7 gets you about 1,000 yen. So it's a.
Well, what does 1,000 yen buy you?
Well, whatever $7 American would have bought you.
A lot of yen.
So not much. I mean, that's the thing. You look at some of these prices, you're like, oh, dinner for 2 is 56,000 yen, and you're like, holy shit! And then you're like,
I'm not spending that.
That's $300.
Fuji Simeon in the house drops this one. He says, "Happy retirement, Lee Corso. He's turning 90 in August. It's about time, man. It's about time. The guy probably should have retired 5 years ago."
Yeah. Lee Corso has ESPN has allowed Lee Corso and Dick Vitale to age gracefully when broadcasters are not allowed to age gracefully anywhere these days. So ESPN gets commended for that. They've also used Lee Corso just a little bit at the end. I mean, but he's enjoyed it. That's the thing. I talked about this quite a bit yesterday when I was doing a show with Sam Patesh. The thing that made this acceptable it was obvious that Lee Corso wasn't being used. He wanted it. He wanted to be there. So
they treated him very well. Plus, they employed him forever. It just, I will say this: ESPN went to the finish line with Lee Corso. ESPN went to the finish line with Chris Mortensen, and I think ESPN's a soulless, terrible organization. But I'll give them credit for those two moves.
I got that right.
Yep, no question. Fuji Simeon, still any chance Niners trade back in the first? Oh,
Yeah.
Barrows says they thinks there's a better chance of them trading back than trading up. I would, if it was me, I would probably go Walter Nolan or trade back. If it was Shamar Stewart or Walter Nolan, I think I'm going Walter Nolan, or I'm trading back and going Walter Nolan. But that would be my plan. Fuji Simeon is looking forward to Bottom of the Pint, Larry. Yes, we have our 4th edition of Bottom of the Pint today. John Lund and I will drink beers during the Giants-Angels game. We are 3-0. We're 3-0. Damon, we'd like you to stop by Bottom of the Pint one day.
I would love to stop by Bottom of the Pint one day. By the way, I got a tiny little bit of baseball for us at the very, very end. So let's go quickly.
Okay. Let's do. We got this one. Pat D in the house. If we're taking the chance at 11 on Stewart, why not take the chance at Pierce at 11? Stewart is a good guy. Pierce is not supposedly a good guy. I think there's more character concerns with Pierce. The concerns with Stewart are not about character, football or otherwise. He's a good guy. He's just doesn't have sack production. He's only got 4.5 career sacks. That's his downside. Fuji Simeon, got to keep the Friday winning streak going, Larry, on the Bottom of the Pint. Rally chugs and all, ha. I'm shocked San Francisco went 4-3 against the Yanks and Phils. Yeah, I mean, it was 2 out of 3 in the Bronx and a split in Philly. I mean, against 2 really good teams. The Giants are looking good. They really are, because when you look at them individually, they're not doing that great individually. There's guys that are ice cold. So there's maybe more there. Fuji
the Giants are the Angels. Excuse me. I thought it was a 4-game series in Philly for some reason.
Oh, you had them in, yeah, they're in Anaheim.
Okay.
The rematch of the 2002 World Series. Fuji Simeon, maybe Rodgers will take his talents to the CFL. Haha. Yeah. Could you imagine? Joseph Ernberg, trade George now while he still has value for a third.
I would not trade the best tight end in football right now.
Yeah, I would,
especially when I have no wide receivers that can play.
and let's be honest, George Kittle is he's so much the Niners. I mean, he's so much about their swagger, so tied directly to him.
He's a perfect teammate. George Kittle is the guy you want to play every single football game of your career with as a teammate.
Well, and the room would change so dramatically, and if you took him out of it, I mean, he's just such a key guy. Eric Bachniars, happy medium to Brock's signing argument. 49ers don't need to sign him until the install, but due to lack of ability to get timely deals done, now is good. Yeah, Mayoko, I mean, we titled it the trade rumors, but, the other big story is Mayoko basically just said, the Niners have an offer out to Purdy. He's sitting on it. Obviously doesn't feel the need to sign it or want to sign it. That's all. That's really it.
It doesn't sound like anything's quote, writes Mayoko. There will still be, I'm sure, a few more offers exchanged here in the coming weeks. Everybody seems to be confident that it'll get done eventually, but it's just kind of in this back and forth right now. I also saw that Puka Nacua said that if they pay him more than 50, their championship window is closed. So wait a minute. Brock at 50, championship window is closed. Brock at 45, Super Bowl favorites. I mean, that's just.
I mean, it's arbitrary, but I understand kind of the point he's trying to make. The other line
the Super Bowl window is closed anyways. The next Super Bowl window will be the one that they open.
Exactly. The line though on the Mayoko report, Damon. Okay, so listen to this. To me, it's 3 words at the end of this quote that are the juiciest. The latest, this is Mayoko on KMBR yesterday. The latest is that the 49ers have made an offer. It's kind of sitting out there. Brock Purdy in his camp, and I don't know how much involved Brock is. I'm sure the agent is shielding him from a lot of this stuff. But the offer the 49ers have made isn't one that Brock Purdy's side is inclined to take at this point, nor will they. So the nor will they kind of represents an impasse, does it not? I mean, I'm not saying that they won't get done. I'm just saying the Niners have an offer out. Brock said no. And now Mayoko clearly has talked to the agent. Otherwise, why would he say, nor will they? They're not inclined. I mean, anybody could say, well, he hasn't signed it, so obviously he's not inclined to take it at this point. That's kind of understood just from what we know. But when he goes on to say, nor will they, That's like, hey, man, we want 65 million. They've offered 45, and there's no way we will ever take that.
I'll just say this. If the Niners turn this into a contentious negotiation, shame on them. My position on this is well stated. I think this deal should have been done. The comical fumbling around for the right number is idiotic. The right number is out there. It is 7 different examples. Look at any of the 10 best contracts for quarterbacks right now. Purdy's deal will look like one of those, whether the Niners want it to or fucking not. I can't believe that this still good. If this turns into Nick Bosa 2.0, shame on everybody involved. I've been saying this since the day the Super Bowl ended. Get it done.
Well, here's the other question. What if it goes past the draft, which is likely at this point? What if it goes past the draft and the 49ers take an uncharacteristically high quarterback pick? What if they take Kyle McCord or Riley Leonard in the 4th round? Then all of a sudden people are going to be sitting there going, well, what in the heck is going on?
Then why didn't you trade Brock Purdy? Why didn't you trade Brock Purdy to the Pittsburgh Steelers? Why didn't you, something like that?
Right. I can see this thing getting more complicated. Wait a second. Do we have that right? I know you got JD Durham. I know you guys have figured it out. I hope the Niners don't screw it up.
Oh, we got it all figured out. Thanks for watching.
Fuji Simeon, hoping for some Good Friday, good luck for the Giants. That's right. Happy Easter to everybody.
Yeah. We're in Passover right now. Easter's coming. Easter happens to be on 4/20. So, smoke them if you got them, Larry.
There you go. Easter Sunday, always a personal favorite. Christopher Shin, who doesn't like a good ham or a turkey or whatever? I mean, Easter is maybe the best food, I think, of the year. Christopher Shin, $2. Says, safe travels, DB. Hope my Japan Rex recommendations.
Christopher has been DMing me a whole bunch of Japanese tips, suggestions. He's been there many times, and it's been incredibly helpful. Thank you, Christopher.
Nice. J Kuda 83, J _ Kuda 83. Have you seen Baldy's video of Trent playing left guard? And if so, what do you think of drafting Campbell to play left tackle and move Trent to left guard?
All right, so Trent instantly then has to cut a check to the Niners for $30 million because we don't pay guards like we pay tackles.
Yeah, I don't think Trent's going to play guard, but it's an interesting concept.
But it's absurd. The Hall of Fame player will continue to play at his Hall of Fame level at his Hall of Fame position.
Yeah, I mean, has there been some regression? Yeah, but not enough that you'd put a rookie there and tell him to play left guard. I think that's crazy. MF and Philpott, if the 49ers trade up, it would be for one reason. Trent Williams is retiring. Yeah, that's a great point. That is MF and Philpott. That's a great super right there. You're totally right. I think the 49ers have Membu at the top of their list. And if Membu fell, let's say, even to 8, I could see the 49ers calling Carolina and saying, hey, let's jump from 11 to 8.
Well, and getting in front of the New York Jets. If you want Membu.
And get in front of the Bears. I mean, because I know the Bears redid their line mostly. I don't think the Bears thought Membu was going to fall to them.
I don't think
Genty's gone. I mean, what's Poles going to do if Genty's gone and he's trying to help Caleb get better? Drafting an awesome offensive tackle is not bad. But I hear you. I mean, I don't think they're going in that direction because they've already replaced 3/5 of their line in the offseason trades and free agency. But I don't know. I mean, some of the mocks have the Bears going offensive line again and replacing 4/5 of their own line. All right, that's going to do it for us. Damon, enjoy Japan.
Thank you. Is there a Warriors bar in Japan? Is there a 49ers bar in Tokyo that I can cover the draft from? I'm going to be covering whatever the 49ers do from my hotel room at some ungodly hour in the morning in the future because Japan is a day ahead of America. So
call us the day before the draft and tell us who they pick.
I'll let you know. Larry, you're going to sound so smart. You're going to sound
Damon's like on Friday already, so he knows who they pick. Could you imagine
that? Real quick.
Damon planned the trip to Japan so he would have a heads up on who the Niners would pick ahead of time.
It's funny. Fish is in town next week playing in San Francisco. And Jillian's like, I don't want to hear a word about Fish while we're in Tokyo. I'm like, well, I haven't seen the set lists yet. I might really regret this. I don't know. Look at it this way. I am going to also miss the beginning of the Warriors Rocket series. Like I said, is there a Warriors bar in Japan I can go to? We got game 1 on Easter. Have a great time with that, everybody.
What's your prediction?
Warriors in 6 right here, and then that's probably it. I don't know if they get past the Lakers. If the
I
Lakers
like the Rockets to beat the Warriors. Steve is not doing this the right way, in my opinion.
I don't like what they've done with Kuminga at all. And I'm not even a big Kuminga fan, but the way that they've just treated him is the equivalent of basketball minute manipulation evil. It's awful what they've done to Kuminga.
Well, it's all, and it's what they've done to themselves, because you're not getting your ancient team
right
past a really talented team that's well coached, like the Rockets are with Udoka.
So the rest of my day,
by sitting Kuminga, it's not
the rest of my day today is preparing to leave the United States. I got a million things to do. We want to set up the grandparents to have success with the kids. We got to go out, get a lot of food, blah, 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 blah. So I'm busy. I'm not doing a show at 11. This is my final show before whatever first show happens in Japan. By the way, JP from the 510, who is a regular listener over on the Plus, is going to be in Japan. So we're going to have at least one Plus Mania Tokyo Drift with me and one other guy in Japan. So I'm looking forward to that. But hey, who put the steroids in the National League West coffee pot? This is amazing, Larry. What's going on? The third place Giants right now are 13-6 after dropping yesterday's game in Philadelphia. And whether or not Jordan Hicks is a starter is a show we can do when I get back from Japan. I don't think he is. But anyways, do you realize that right now their third place record at 13-6 would have them in first place in any other division in baseball? But it's only good for third out west because the Dodgers are 14-6 and the Padres don't lose at home. They're 12-1 at Petco and 15-4 and in first place on the year. The National League West is a monster that nobody saw coming starting like this.
Good for the Giants. Good for Buster. The cool thing about this year for the Giants is I almost feel like they're not even in a race because nobody expects them to beat the Dodgers. I never think about the race ever at this point. Now it's early in the year.
Well, it's a little early.
But I mean, for the most part, just play. Just keep playing good ball. And I think the Giants are a wild card team. And if you get into the National League playoffs via the wild card, you got a shot. I don't know about Verlander. I don't know about Hicks. I think they're going to need another starter. I just was looking at a list of players that potentially could be traded by the mid part of the summer, and Luis Robert of the White Sox is on that list. And, man, I would love to see Luis Robert manning right field for the Giants. But right now, Wilmer's hitting, Yaz is hitting, and all is right with the world. The Giants look good. Tyler Fitzgerald got a hitting instruction from Barry Bonds and has lit it up.
Yeah,
the Giants look like they look really, really good.
By the way,
Melvin looks totally different in the dugout to me. Last year, he looked comatose and like emotionless and dead. This year, he looks totally different. He didn't have totally a team different.
To manage. Farhan had done all the managing in his spreadsheet before the game even started, so Melvin had no choices to make.
Yeah,
so he's back being the manager.
He seems happier. He seems different.
Speaking of manager news, my last thing for you here, Larry, then you can finish all supers and wrap up because I know you got to run. Happy birthday earlier this week to Bruce Bochy, who I think just 2 days ago turned 70. He's got 2,183 managerial wins, which today at this sentence has him tied with Dusty Baker for seventh all time on the managerial win list. If the Rangers win tonight, he's in seventh all by himself, and he would then be 10 wins shy of Sparky Anderson for sole possession of sixth place on the all-time managerials list. He's 143 wins shy of Joe Torre for fifth place, so he'd have to be looking at staying in the game beyond this year. Bruce Bochy's 3-year deal with the Rangers ends this year. So I don't know if he's going to get to Joe Torre if he really walks into the sunset at the end of this year. But if he comes back for 2 more years, Joe Torre is going to be the 5th winningest manager in Major League history. And I freaking love Bruce Bochy as much as you can love another man who leans on a dugout railing. Great guy.
Great guy. After the 2014 World Series, he saw me at the ballpark, after one of the pressers, and said to Jim Moorhead, the late Jim Moorhead, who was a PR guy for the Giants back then. He's like,
late Jim passed away.
Yeah. Jim Moorhead.
What?
Yeah, we can talk about it another time. But yeah, Jim Moorhead is no longer with us, and he's been.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Jimmy's no here.
He's so young. He was young.
Yes,
oh my gosh. Oh,
great guy too. But Jim Moorhead, he said Bruce Bochy said to Jim Moorhead, he's like, "Hey, was that young fella want to sit down?" And Moorhead leans his head into the corridor, and he said, Krug, Bochy will give you a one-on-one in his office right now. I said, shut up. I just literally said that. I'm like, just like that. I'm like, shut up. He's like, no, he's in there, and he saw you walking out here, and he said he'd give you a one-on-one. I said, really? He said, yeah, absolutely. So I went into Bruce's office. He handed me a beer. We sat there, and we did an interview and drank beers. I mean, it was amazing.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
I had my Bruce
2014 World Series.
I had my Bruce Bochy beer with him in Scottsdale, where I did an interview for about 20 minutes, and then we talked for another 20 minutes. And what a great, generous guy he was with his time, and just the stories he would share on and off the record. My favorite Bruce Bochy interaction ever, it was, I can't even remember who was pitching, but the Giants got absolutely fucking slaughtered. And I'm in the clubhouse afterwards, and I said, Bruce, this is the kind of loss that makes you want to come in here and flip over the buffet table, right? And he looks at me and just in his most Bruce Bochy-ness ever goes, well, no, because we got to eat tomorrow night too.
Exactly. Okay, a couple last things before we get out of here.
Yeah.
Big subscriber, big sponsor on the Krug Show is Learn Key Upskill Academy, and they are sponsoring our NFL Draft Challenge. That's right. You can predict the top 12 picks in the upcoming NFL draft for a shot to win a $100 Visa gift card. It's totally free to enter. Just fill out the Google form linked in the description below and your predictions for picks 1 through 12.
Now, as a co-host, am I eligible for this, Larry, or am I denied to get into this?
You can pick, you just can't win. But entries will be graded on how many correct player to pick matches you get. First place wins a $100 Visa gift card. Second place wins a $50 Visa gift card. Plus, both winners get to come on the Krug Show during draft weekend. So hit that link, lock in your draft board, and let's see who really knows their draft. Good luck, and big thanks to Learn Key Upskill Academy for sponsoring this show and, of course, this contest. So once again, it's totally free to enter. Fill out the Google form linked in the description below. Get your predictions, and you may win a $100 Visa gift card or a $50 Visa gift card, courtesy of Learn Key Upskill Academy, our sponsor. All right, that does it for us.
Eat it out and drink at the Dublin or West Portal. That's all I got for you.
There you go. Pig in a pickle. Pig in a pickle. Check him out in Emeryville and Corte Madera. Blood Moon says Puka opening his mouth about another player's pockets breaks kind of a player's unspoken code. Mind your own effing business and retire Puka at 30 like you want. Yeah, don't.
Blood Moon, you're so right. Keep your hands out of another guy's pockets.
Yeah, I mean, and you know what? So the Niners pay him 50. They're not going to beat you. I think they're probably coming for you.
Niners pay him 50. They got me and Larry playing across the offensive line, but they pay him 45. They're going to have a Pro Bowl caliber offensive line.
Joe Sullivan says, thanks for a great show, fellas. Thanks, Joe. That's going to do it for us. At 10:45, I'll be streaming with Chase Sr. Make sure you guys all tune in on Saturday at noon Pacific for my 2-hour KNBR 49er draft preview show, which will include Matt Barrows, Matt Mayoko, Todd Husak, Dane Brugler, and Ryan Fowler as well from the Draft Network. So looking forward to that. Have a great day, Damon. Have a safe travels in Japan. Have a good time in Japan. We will see you not next week, right? 2 weeks?
See you in 2 weeks. See you in 2 weeks.
See Damon in 2 weeks. Have a great day, everybody. Peace.